everyone, and welcome to Avini Vibes. We're very excited tonight to be here. And what is the date? Oh my gosh, it's 1/11, January 11th, 2024. It's a new year, a lot of new things happening, and we're very, very grateful that you took the time to be with us tonight. If you're a guest, please feel free. If you can raise your hand, you can, and if you're not a guest, you can still raise your hand. Use that little button at the bottom and we'll go ahead and call on you. But we're very, very honored tonight to be here at Avini Vibes because there's a lot of power in this Zoom room always. And I always leave here charged, as many of you text after and say the same thing. You know, we're here at Avini Vibes to share about this amazing company, these amazing products, great leadership, and hear your stories. So please don't be shy to share your story, share what you've learned with our guest or with another fellow Avenians. Is that what we call them, Robben? Fellow Avenians. Um, I am proud tonight to first I have to thank Eddie Kowalski because Eddie and Carol helps make this call happening. Everybody plays a part, Chip. But I said to Eddie, "Oh, we need a guest." And I'm reaching out, learning as I learn about all the new people in the company. And he says, "Let's call Robben West." And I said, "Yeah." So here she is. She's with us tonight, and Robben hosts a show as well, interview process that she does, which is amazing. But Robben was born and raised in Central Coast of California. You can see her backdrop. That's a real pond behind her. It looks like a beautiful place, Robben. And it's the Sierra Mountains. It's what Oakhurst, California. And I understand you and your husband, Mark, have been married for 37 years. And wow, you've been in business for 37 years together, and you're still in love, and you're still happy and doing
We,
it together.
yeah,
God
we
bless
still
you.
like to be together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful thing. So, Robben, with that, again, I just want to make sure that none of us we don't make any medical claims. Robben, you are a special guest tonight, and we're really, really interested to hear your story. How did you learn about Avini? How did you get involved, and why are you here? Lots of questions, but I just want to give you the floor, and please share from your experience and your heart. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you guys for letting me come. I appreciate this. I love hearing other people's stories and their journeys. So I'm not aggressive at giving mine because my Tuesday call, I just love for people to feel like they can be involved, no matter who they are, no matter how long they've been with us in the Avini family. So thanks for giving me the opportunity, and I'll try to be as concise as I can. I can be a little long-winded, so you might have to butt in a little bit. You have my permission. But you know, I am very grateful for I'm gonna bring it back to my mom because my mom had quite a difficult childhood, and then she had a lot of health issues. And after she had me, she ended up having to have a hysterectomy in her 30s. And then the next year they had to go back in, and she had a lot of issues, a lot of hormonal issues, a lot of pain in her life. And she found a natural healing person that helped her discover how all the wonderful things you eat, depending on what you eat, is going to make you well or not, right? And education that she got really instilled in me that I wanted to look at God's creation first as much as I could and stay in that kind of a situation where I was eating well, taking care of myself and learning from other people who had discovered things. And so that gave me more of an open mind toward natural healing. But we were always entrepreneurs. Our families, actually my husband's family and my parents also, were self-employed. They were very motivated, and so I love receiving that inheritance too, of a good work ethic, but also kind of doing your own thing. So when my husband and I married, we actually married the same month we got married. we bought a house and we started a business. I'm not sure that's the best thing to do all in 1 month, but it worked out. And since then, we've been together in our businesses. We've had different kinds of businesses. We actually ran a Foster's Freeze, which in California, that's a big deal. And most of you would know, and I see Kyle smiling because he's from this area, been here a lot. Dairy Queen, things like that. And so we called ourselves quick service, not fast food, because it took longer. They were more made to order. It was a little more upgrade than fast food. But it was very interesting. We were in our 30s when we ran that, and was not my husband's choice after we got involved. He realized it was not what he wanted to do. But we ended up doing that for 7 years and did really well, and we were blessed through that. And toward the end of that 7 years, we discovered through my sister, Glenna Russell, who's actually an Emerald in Avini, and she's been such an amazing support for me and family member in the Avini family, but also the best sister I could ever have. She's amazing. But she was injured. She had a terrible injury, and she discovered through a friend some natural healings that was network marketing. And so that was kind of our introduction to network marketing. But the products were absolutely amazing and really helped our family. So we got involved, and we were involved for probably about 5, 6, 7 years. And then things changed at that company. And a lot of you have been through that before. And so, that term in Avini Health, you've probably heard it if you've been here very long, that a lot of network marketing PSD people are here. You kind of got burned, or the company didn't treat you right, and you thought, I'm never ever going to do network marketing again. But let me explain why I'm here, because it started in 2006. And because of our journey, I tell you that journey because of the first company. We actually met Chip and Marcy Littlejohn back then. They were not in our particular team, but they came to Fresno from Nebraska several times to help their nephew, but also everyone in this area in that first company we're involved in. And that's where we saw leaders giving of themselves, no matter whether they were working with Crossline or with their own downline. They just didn't matter. It was, they were going to help people, and they were amazing examples for us. And so then we met. Well, I actually this is very interesting because this is all God, divine intervention. I heard from the same friend that told my sister about the first company. He called and he said, you got to call Marcy and Chip Littlejohn, because what they have will help your sister. Because my sister was at a time where scar tissue and pain and the ruptured discs, all kinds of things she was having were giving her more problems. And she was going to have surgery again on her hands that were having keloided scar tissue. And she was praying and asked God for an answer. 3 days later, her friend called me and said, you got to get Glenna with Marcy and Chip Littlejohn. And that's how we found out about Rick Deitch in 2006. And at that time, his original Cell Defender product, and we started using it. So why I came is because of God intervention, but these beautiful people that we had cross our path, that were giving and loving and cared about people, and yet they were out there telling everybody they could tell, to make sure that those people had the choice to use our amazing products from Rick Deitch, our biochemist. So I actually called Marcy and I said, what is this stuff? She gave me some testimonials, and I said, okay, we're in. Got to have it. It's a detox product. Got to have it. I've always tried to do detoxing through my life, and because of my mother and learning all those things, I knew that I had toxic load. Now, I wasn't as educated as I was when I came into Wayora, and we started getting the education that heavy metals, the pesticides, the chemicals, the toxic load, parasites, all of those things in your body just block your body from healing itself. They just, interfere with the organs working correctly, and then your body can break down, and then disease can come in. So I learned so much. That first year was just amazing. And when I said to Marcy, okay, we're in. I want it because we knew my husband and I both were in wanting to detox. We started taking the product. We bought the biggest package they had and we started taking the product. And at that time, I didn't know I was going to have my own great testimonial. I actually did it because of what Marcy and Chip were finding with other people. And I believed in getting rid of the trash out of my body. But I was going through that change in life that women go through, and I was having anxiety every day. Never had that in my life before. I was having something on my scalp. I don't know if it was candida outbreak or something like that, but it was would itch and burn. I'd had a couple of raw spots on my head about the size of a nickel. It was just like, what is this? So my hormones were really messed up, and I was having hot flashes, all that kind of thing. So I started taking the Rick's Zeolite product, the Cell Defender, and I was taking a dropper full about 4 or 5 times a day. And in 3 days, my anxiety totally went away. I never had another day of it. Within a couple of weeks, the itching and burning on my scalp was gone. My hot flashes were starting to diminish. They were still there, but not as bad. And then Rick came out with his first um, the original mushroom product, and I started taking that. Oh my goodness. I was taking back then it wasn't as strong as our or as valuable as our mushroom product. You know, Rick, our biochemist, is amazing because he just makes his product better and better and better over the years. He doesn't ever stop. He doesn't go, okay, it's done. You know, if he gets more wisdom from on high, because I know that's where it comes from, they'll go, okay, I need to improve that. You know, it's just really cool. And so here he had this mushroom product came out, and I started taking that, and I took several capsules a day, probably three times a day, and hot flashes diminished completely. Now I was in my upper 40s at the time. I'm 65 now, and I flew through menopause. I it's been amazing, and I always thought, you know, I'm really going to have a lot of problems because of my mom, you know, and just inheriting. I'm a lot like my mom. My body's a lot like my mom's body, you know, just the things that we've dealt with over the years. And I'm just amazed. I'm so thankful. So is it okay if I keep going, Christina?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, sorry guys.
No, we
Okay.
want to hear your story. This is your time.
Okay, so when I got my results, my it was just a few weeks after my brother was going in for to have an operation, and he was in bad shape. He had blood sugar issues. He didn't eat real well. He wasn't the part of the family that took my mom's information. He just kind of did what he wanted and didn't pay attention to that. But he also got some medication when he was younger that a doctor got him on, and it wasn't good for his heart. And so he had a lot of issues. Well, the doctor was going to be putting in stents in his legs and his heart at the same time. He was in such bad shape. So Marcy and Chip said, hey, it can't hurt him. It will help clean his body and take a better body to the situation. So we put him on what we now call a Marcy dose, and he did drops every hour. And now it's 5 drops every waking hour. So my brother was doing that. And 2 weeks later, he went in for the surgery, and the doctor had prepared he and his wife and said, this will be a 4-hour surgery. It was 45 minutes long.
Wow.
And the doctor came out to my sister-in-law in the waiting room and said, well, his arteries weren't as bad as I thought they were. I mean, you know, and so I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that our bodies make just amazingly. And when it gets the right help, it can do its own healing. So my brother definitely took a better body to the doctor in the situation. Because of that, his 2 grandsons, who are on the spectrum, at the time they were 4 and 6, and they were both, they could speak some words here and there, but they couldn't communicate well. They mostly pointed and grunted, get their way, you know. But they were also in diapers at 4 and 6. The youngest one had an anger issue, really bad anger issue. And he was on anti-seizure medication to help that. I'm not sure what the thought was behind that, but mom wasn't wasn't liking the side effects, but it was about the only thing she tried everything. She tried the back then, the diet, all the things that they knew to try, and she did try those, and nothing was helping. The oldest one was 6, very sweet boy in school for autism. They started on the drops because on the Cell Defender zeolite drops, because they saw grandpa. The mom saw her dad get benefits and thought, okay, and we knew it was safe for the boys. It's totally safe. Nobody can be allergic to it. Nobody, there's no side effects. Anybody can have it. My kittens, when their mama before she had her, she got drops, so they got drops even before they were born, and they get drops every day. I mean, as precaution and prevention. So anybody and animals can have our Cell Defender. It's amazing. So,
Robin, how old are the boys now?
so
They were
now,
4 and 6 at that time.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
4 and 6. They started speaking in sentences 2 weeks after starting the drops. They both came out of their diapers within about a month and a half, 2 months. They were able to go back to school that year and actually socialize. In fact, the oldest one was helping the other children with their schoolwork. And now they are 19 and 21, and they are very, very high functioning. They're amazing young men. They have become the young men that God designed them to do. They have their own jobs of taking care of animals, and they're awesome. They're very, very intelligent, and most children who are on the spectrum are very intelligent to genius. And so, yeah, so I love sharing that. That's the highlight of why I stay in with Rick Deitch, and fortunately now Avini, he owns the company, so we have the control. We know there's not a greedy bone in his body, or Neil Roth or Doug Dickey, and that changes things for me in the network marketing arena, and it makes a big, big, big difference. So that's why we're here, and we're here to stay.
I want to ask you another question about, that experience, your own personal family experience, and seeing something in 2 weeks turn around. Autism on the spectrum, communication is a big problem, behaviors are a big problem. I was an executive director of a school for autism, and the behaviors were the thing. It's just exhausting for a parent, exhausting. And I shared with Carol and Robin before you all came on. I'm not going to read it now because it is lengthy, but I have a family member also, now 31, but it's a life-changing. It's very dramatic when a baby is diagnosed. So, Robin, through the years, I'm sure you've seen other families and other children come to you, and you offer this resolve for them as well. Yes, can you share any of those stories, perhaps?
Oh yes, I mean, and Marcy and Chip, actually, Little John, Chip on tonight, and you guys all know Chip. Marcy and Chip have helped thousands of children over the years. And we have also, I have a recent, a little gal, well, she's actually 31. She looks like she's in her late teens, but her mom is single mom. And this little gal is very nonverbal still, and very can be volatile at times. And they actually have her on a lot of medication, right now to try to help control. So she just started on the Cell Defender just a couple months ago, and it's made a big difference in her. So it depends on the person. It depends on how good of, you know, every child or person that has been on the spectrum that has been on our Cell Defender for a length of time has had results. Now, here's the thing: is our Cell Defender is not the cure.
Right.
And autism is not a disease name, it's a syndrome, so we can speak about autism. But it just goes back to getting rid of the toxic load safely, efficiently, and very quickly sometimes, then seeing results in quality of life. And our boys will never go a day without taking the drops. They know in the beginning they had to take it in water because they were very picky. You couldn't drop it in their mouth. But over the time period, and within a year, they were taking it themselves because they knew it helped them. And then they never went a day without it, and they help each other remember. So, yeah, and we've had many, many. In fact, Chip and Marcy could probably tell you many stories of helping the children with autism. Absolutely. But it's over and over again. It's just amazing. Any family that's open to it, it can't hurt them. Why not? It could be the missing link, the one thing that they haven't tried that could absolutely give their child their life back. Why wouldn't they want to try?
Yeah, and the family's life back. I'm just going to ask you if you get an opportunity to go to the National Council on Severe Autism. Carol, maybe we can put the link in this because the article was written by my sister, who's a law professor, on behalf of people on the spectrum. And she sent this to me, and it just made me cry when I read it because I know firsthand of how holidays. It's called the unjolly reality of a profound autistic Christmas. I can't read it now because I'll cry. So I'm just going to have you put the link in there because I know also in the article it talks about tips, things that you can do to help. What should you say and not say? Because sometimes you just don't know what to say. But I'm telling you, just those little things that you and I do every day, to teach Andrew how to tie shoes. I remember it was broken down with ABA, applied behavior analysis. It was like 62 steps. And it's very, very intense. So if we have something, not if, we do have something that you saw at firsthand. And Chip, I want you to jump in too, please, and share because this is there's only a handful of us here right now, but we have something that can help these families. So we'll put the link for that article, and I'm asking you to read it and know how I'm urging you to share with the people that you know that need this.
I
So,
do have I do have one more testimonial that I was thinking. I'm sorry, I was thinking of all the
oh,
past testimonials, but there was a wonderful one here locally in Oakhurst, and it was a family who had three boys that all had autism, and they were ranging from a very quiet situation but non-social to a more of a violent situation. Different boys, different types, or different ways of expressing, being in the autistic spectrum, on the autistic spectrum, but none of them could talk. They were just, and they were younger. I'm trying to think of the ages. It's been years, and all three of them, and because of my story, someone heard, about that because of our family story, and so we just kept sharing it, and other people share, and then heard other testimonials. That's the thing, is just sharing the testimonials with people. You never know whose life you're going to touch. But this mother found out about it, mom and dad, and they put them on the drops, and these children just had quality of life where they didn't before. And like you say, the whole family, because when you have an autistic child in the home, it's about surviving and keeping that child as happy and healthy as you possibly can, but it interrupts the whole family. It's something
it's
that,
safe.
mm-hmm,
Lock the
yeah,
doors sometimes,
yeah,
family
yeah.
members have to lock the doors. But Chip, I see you unmuted. Feel free, jump in because we love to hear from, I call him Dr. Chip. My husband's got Dr. Soda, Dr. Chip, and Dr. Tailgater. And Chip's one of them.
Hi, everybody. Well, this has been a day of revelation. I guess maybe I sort of kind of needed today. Um, I I'm just looking at some of the contrast and the revelations of the day. So you probably got a little bit of an idea there. Mark and Robin West and Glenna and her family and the people around her, we know each other really, really well, like family, maybe more than family. And I had a three-way call in New York earlier today, and it might be good to hear from Nick if she'd like to say something later on. But during that call, her dad mentioned a guy by the name of Walter Littlejohn from Middletown, New York. And I got to thinking after we got done, I thought, okay, that sounds familiar. And I realized that's my biological dad's brother.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know that guy. I do know Mark and Robin West. I mean, he kept track of me and sent me a card trying to make up for my dad on my birthdays and stuff. But, network marketing, we get close to each other because of what we're able to do together. And I have to say, and I wrote something down, and this is this is my business training for the night. Hopefully, well, you'll all understand this, I think. One of your best efforts of the day, one of my best efforts of the day, ideally should be with a highly effective person in the place where you need to grow the most. Stop and think about that a little bit. I mean, that's the compensation plan talking to you. One of your best presentations of the day, hopefully, can be with a highly effective person where you need to grow the most. Well, that was provided to me today, courtesy of Aneka. So thank you for that. And I hope maybe she can tell a little bit about what we did. But the other thing that really, really got me just now, I thought I kind of knew Carol and Christine, right? I think I know Kyle pretty well because I've listened to him every day I used to get up every morning and listen to Kyle speak every morning. And he was the presenter every day. And I hung on every word. But I kind of think I know Carol and Christine a little bit. And here comes Christine. And I didn't know that she was the executive director of an autism school and that her sister is a lawyer that writes things like that. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, I just heard Robben say what she said. I know what happened. I know all the things around it. I know the stories that led up to it, and the stories have cascaded from it. And I'm kind of watching Christine's face, and I'm wondering if she's thinking that this can be true. Or have you seen it in person yet, Christine? Have you seen this happen to anybody in person yet with Avini products?
Only through, not personally firsthand, just with testimonials of people I've met in the company themselves.
Okay, so in that way, it's still Chip and Robben's thing. Christine knows about it now, but it's not really her thing yet. And I was watching for that in her face, and I thought, okay, she's not absolutely positively true that if she reaches to somebody that this will happen for sure. And it pretty much one of the easiest, most for sure, dependable, reproducible, doesn't take very long or very much product usually to have these dramatic improvements in these kids and the people that are developmentally delayed, if you want to call it that way. And it's absolutely incredible to participate in that. Maybe some of you have gone into the avinihealthtraining.com and looked at the Artis and Alexis story. That's kind of, one of the grand ones, certainly one of the miracle ones. And you think about, okay, when we were born, most of us, that would have been maybe 1 in 10,000 people that went down that route. Now, it's maybe less than 1 in 50.
Right.
Right? It's that common. Well, why is that? It's because we live in a polluted world. And here's the other thing. The rest of you that are sitting there thinking, well, if it's that many kids, why don't I know about it? Why don't I see that every day? If you're sitting there hearing about this for the first time, here's why. And I'll bet it has to do with the story that her sister, the law professor, wrote. Those kids really rely on the same thing every day, being sequestered somewhere. And if you change something, or if they go out in public, oftentimes it'll cause a meltdown or a blow up, and it may take quite a while to get that settled back down again. So what happens is, and this is why you don't know, in case you're wondering, this is the punchline, the child and a caregiver both disappear. They both go into the shadows because they can't come out around people without having this thing happen. And the kids look fine, and nobody understands why they're acting like that. Why are they having that blood? Why are they acting out? And it is because something has impaired their development. And that 5-minute and 1-second video that I show you guys all the time, I keep telling you, look up on YouTube these 3 words: brain, neuron, mercury. And it's created by the argument between dentists, whether it's safe to use silver amalgam fillings containing mercury or not. And mercury will take the insulation off of the tiniest nerves in the brain. All the other heavy metals are also toxic and are going to harm you. Every central nervous system dysfunction either is, and every function of humans either is or is at the very least made worse by these poisons. These are big statements. Every dysfunction of humans either is or is at the very least made worse by these poisons. And we have the way to take a shower on the inside multiple times a day, washing it out. A discovery of the last few days, because I want you guys to be the best you can possibly be when you leave here tonight. People that hurt, and I actually got this from someone who hurt more when they started using the products. I thought, well, how can that really be? And then I realized when you take a shower, it takes water. When you take these products, the very next time you pee, you're peeing poison, right? It takes water to carry them out. And you're going to tend to become, you're using more water, but you don't realize it. You're not exercising, you're not sweating, you don't realize you're getting less water. Well, what's one of the functions of water that nobody thinks about, but everybody knows about? It keeps your cells plumped up, right? The plants behind me, if they got dry, they'd shrink down and shrivel up. If they get more water, they plump up and they pop up again. Well, water inside of us inflates every cell. They call it turgidity or turgid pressure. And so a plumper cell is a better cushion. Maybe all the cushions are gone in your knee, but everything around it, the cells are a little bit more full of water. That's a better cushion. If you start using the products and you get dehydrated, how many times has Rick told us? If somebody has any problems, it's probably that they need and can use more water doing this. Now we have plus hydration. So when you tell them that, it's not just an idea, it's a product. And we're able to get more water into the tissues than we could before. So now you have plumper cells, a better cushion, and all of a sudden things that may have been bones hurting. Wouldn't it be crazy if the thing that you took to get more water into you made you feel better? Well, it does. It does. It's the most wonderful thing. And so that idea that water helps to be the cushions within us. We're made of a lot of water. Well, one of the things it does, move good things in, carry bad things out, but it's also a cushion. And that cushioning is a real important factor. Another languaging thing, when we start working with plus relief, and I've boiled it down and made it a lot simpler. You know, I've been doing that lie detector thing for a while. But messages coming down a nerve are important to us. They allow us to wiggle our fingers, blink our eyes, and have a thought, right? If you hurt, you don't function as well. Why? It's kind of like static coming in with the good messages. When we begin to use the Avini Plus Relief products, all it does is take the static out, and the good messages get through clearer, and you don't notice the static as much. That's how it works. Is that simpler way of saying it and thinking about it? All it does is take the static out of the nerve messages, which includes the misery. You still know you hurt, you just don't hurt as much. It doesn't totally hide something that you should know about, but it brings it down to the amplitude that you can tolerate. No addiction, no overdose, no numbness, no putting your bowels to sleep actually can enhance the good messages coming down a nerve because the static is now out of them and you begin to function like you want to. You get clarity of thought, and you get that also from the other products. So these are things, you know, these are improvements during the last week or so of having calls with people seeking ways to say it better. And so I hope, you know, if I haven't heard you guys tomorrow morning, I haven't heard your best stuff because you just got better.
Enoch, are you with us? Do you want to share? Where'd she go? She disappeared. Did you disappear?
She's there.
All right, I don't see her, but if you want to,
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Me too.
I'm here.
I know you were
see-
part of. I know you were part of that story.
Oh my gosh. I got to witness an incredible conversation between Mr. Chip Littlejohn and my mom and my stepdad today. And I of course took a step back and I just wanted to listen in and learn and hear the way Chip, you know, broke things down for my mom. She, she's going through a lot, and she was doing okay for a while, but I can really hear in her voice today, she's a bit more fragile again and a little bit foggy in the mind. So I was listening though to how Chip was, trying to explain, how things work and what his thoughts were. But what was really nice is that he did it with such a dignity towards her, and didn't make her feel as though, he knows everything, and that she doesn't know her body. And he kept checking in with her that, am I making sense to you? And she was right there with him. And but then the conversation went even a little bit further, where he had inquired about her profession. She had done some work in clinical trials for many years. She was heavily involved with the pharmaceuticals and instruments. And so she was able to share, and he had asked some questions. And she, it was kind of nice for her, I think, to kind of reflect on some of the things that she did very well in her work. I mean, it's been about, I think she has been out, probably stopped maybe 10 years ago. I mean, she worked quite late in life. She's 80 now. Maybe 10, 12 years ago, she retired. So it gave her a moment to share, and also teach maybe Chip a thing or two, which, and she giggled a few times, and it was a great to listen in on that. 'Cause I don't get to hear that side of my mom too often. She's always the mom, but here I got to hear, something that she was really proud of, and it all came together really nicely. So, and then of course my stepdad, with knowing Mr. Walter Littlejohn, like, that whole dynamic with that connection, and that ends up being your biological father's brother, so your uncle. And so it was really a great call today. Thank you for that, Chip. I appreciate it.
It was so cool. I got to give one funny little detail, because it was, it's really neat. And I love it when the person that I'm speaking with teaches me something about them. And then, she's literally involved in clinical trials for drug companies. And the thing that she most loved, the product that she most loved, was for cardiac patients. And it did not make it through. It was stopped by the process. And she was so frustrated. And it was like $20,000 per participant in the process. And they were letting people into the program that shouldn't have been in the program, and she was trying to help screen them. I mean, that's part of what she was doing. It really interesting. I don't know how many chances she gets to tell about that kind of stuff, but one of the cool little things that, help me say your name right, because is it Ineka, or how do you say?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
going to give you a nickname.
Could be Inika. I don't know. How do you say
Better. It's Enica.
Enika?
All together. Let's all say it together. Enica, because I did it last week, so I apologize for mispronouncing.
Okay, well, you could, it's one of those things you can't sound out and be safe. So that's pretty cool. And she's a teacher, so that was really cool to get to do that. But what she gave me a little hint ahead of time, and I knew I wanted to go down the hydration thing because of her spine hurting, and she had a lot of autoimmune things. And so we went to the core beginnings of basically autoimmune starting in the gut, and some great details about that, which I've improved this week too. But she told me we're going to be talking to them at the time of day when they usually have their glass of wine. And I kind of had a devil made me do it moment. And I thought, okay, well, what if we just, to make it interesting, mix some of the plus hydration in the wine? And so before I did it, I had a little bitty bottle of wine upstairs, and I mixed it up with plus hydration. So I told her, while I'm talking to you, I'm testing this theory. I've mixed up my plus hydration in some wine. Oh, they loved that. They loved that because it was kind of their little moment of the day. And I said, you still got to drink some water, because the object is to get water in you. But she yucked it up about that. And, when somebody's hurting terrible and you can get them to laugh, that's not a bad thing. And so Um, Ineka, you've probably heard me say this before, but my last little thing I want to say, because you're a teacher, is the difference between a network marketer and a teacher is the networker invites their own class. That's the only difference.
Well said. Well
Otherwise,
said.
we're teachers. Yeah,
Well
that's
said.
all I got.
Thank you, Chip. Robben, you're back. We want to hear from you again because you're our special guest.
Oh, this is fun. I love hearing from everybody. So
Yeah. So if you
I
have a
think
question for Robben or Chip, you can raise your hand. We're going to run out of time before you know it. That's how it goes on this call. It goes fast. You know, we're all here to learn together, and we're here to hear your story as well. But Robben, what else would you like to share with us? What about I had an experience today, I'll tell you quick. With my two little dogs that are in my backdrop there, and my two little white dogs, took them to the vet. And my dog has a tumor on his head. Boo has one right behind here. I thought it was a lipoma, which wouldn't be something so much to worry about. So they did they actually aspirated it, and it is a tumor. And they both have, and my dogs eat really good. They eat like clean food, I have to tell you. They probably eat better than a lot of people. But long story short, what I called Chip right away. I said, what do I do? They want to do the dental thing. And Chip jumped right in. He texted me back and told me what to do. And Robben, you had an idea what to do for them also with the mushrooms, making the poultice.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you can get to it, if they've already, taken the hair away and it's a place where you can make a poultice out of the cell defender and the immunity product and put it on top of that area. If you can, I mean, I know it's hard to keep it on an animal, but we do that with the humans a lot. And I've got that from Marcy and Chip. I mean, Marcy and Chip are the ones that taught us everything. But what's wonderful about our products, and especially the cell defender, is you can give that to anybody, any animal. And one of my favorite stories, just to give you an example, and Chip knows this well because Chip and Marcy were very involved in helping, is Bonnie, my friend, who has a tiger preservation rescue center. And they rescue the animals. They don't put them on display. They just take care of them. They have the best life. They're amazing. But they have about 80 animals, and mostly tigers and that kind of a big cats. But she had rescued, they have, this is Wilhelmina is her name, and she's a lilager. So the breeders out there, for making money, they breed them with a lion and a tiger, and they take the offspring and rebreed that with another lion. So it's a lilager. Unfortunately, they end up having, most of the babies, or a lot of the babies, end up having problems. And with cats, they have weak kidneys. I mean, in any cat, Rick was telling us about that, his cats have weak kidneys. And so that would be their weakness. So they end up with these, well, I don't know if I can say the disease name, but it's polyps inside and outside the Chip. Do you want to say, is that okay way to say it? Yeah, just like cyst-like things inside, outside the kidneys. Anyway, it interferes and their kidneys give out and they die. And so she at 8 weeks rescued Wilhelmina, call her Willie, and we got Marcy on the phone with her, and she, every hour now, 24/7 for a while, she was giving her a dropper full of the cell defender, and then also mushroom product as soon as she could. She got the mushroom product in there, and I don't remember how much, but she just put it in her food. But Wilhelmina is now 9 years old. The vet told her, you will not be able to save this animal. They do not live when they have this issue. She's 9 years old and she's gorgeous. So just to give you an example, it doesn't matter how small or large the animal or person is, because the cell defender goes in and out of the body. It doesn't stay. And we want to drip it in, especially when you have a crisis. You want to drip it in constantly, just capturing the toxins and coming in contact with those bad cells, whether that's a mutated cell or scar tissue or whatever. And it reestablishes the body's killing system called apoptosis. And Rick has an 8-minute video, real good video clip on that, by the way, that you can help someone with that has bad cells. And it just reestablishes our body's own killing system that God gave us. So it's amazing. You can't hurt them. And what if it saves their life? So.
Absolutely. And so it's going to be easier for me to get the droppers in my little dog's mouth opposed to a lion or a tiger as they did. So anything is possible. But it gives you hope for the I'm an animal person. I have horses, dogs, cats. I've been so much involved with the animals. And when he did the presentation a couple of weeks ago, when we had a corporate call a couple of weeks ago, if you haven't watched it, please go back and listen, because everyone's presentation was spectacular, especially the part I liked about the pets that Rick did. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Enika, go ahead.
Yes, hi, thank you. So my question is coming through my friend here, Mary Jane, who's starting her son on Cell Defender. And her son has ADHD and oppositional defiance. So there's a lot going on, and he is 13 years old, and we're really excited for him. He's going to be starting very soon as she receives the shipment. But what her goal is ultimately is to be able to reduce and hopefully altogether the medication that he's on. Have you had any experience or with people who have been able to take the Cell Defender to maybe eventually wean off of the medications? Or I'm sure everybody has their own experiences and results that they've had, but that's ultimately her goal. And she was curious of a time frame. So I know it could be different for everyone. And I know that's a personal thing that, each family has to decide with their own medical care team that they have around them. But she's just wondering if there was a time frame that she can ultimately, move towards, and hoping that she can eventually get her son off of medication.
Chip, do you want to answer this?
Yeah.
You guys have me a lot. I'd say ask Robben first, because she's been really close to these things, and I have some things I can say too. But
Okay.
Robben's so good. There isn't anybody better than Robben on that topic.
Well, I was going to say, let me just say something real quick, and then I'm going to hand it to Chip, because Chip comes from such a great perspective, from the science perspective of it. I'm going to say from an experiential perception of just what we've seen happen. The beautiful thing is Cell Defender cannot interfere with medications, which you guys probably already know, but I want to make sure, because it's a negative charge, and medications are neutral charge. There's no affinity for each other. And we've proven this. There's only one medication that you just want to be careful around, and that's a chemo medication that has platinum in it. That's a heavy metal. So we don't want to take the platinum out, because that's the delivery system for that chemo. So a day before the treatment, day of, day after, I think Rick says maybe a couple days after, whatever, don't take the zeolite, but in between the treatments, take it, do the Marcy dose if you're fighting that issue. But what happens is, when the body starts working better, it gets cleaner, and the organs start working, and the blood starts being clean, and just everything in your body starts working better, you're able, actually, medications work better in the body. And we've proven that with people who have blood sugar issues. We had a gentleman who was on a really high amount, I think it was 60 IUs of insulin, brittle blood sugar issues, and after a year of being on the Cell Defender, he went down to 20 IUs. After being, we're talking long-term brittle, and his wife used to have to be up at night with him in case he stopped breathing, to get him something to eat. So it's just an example of one time, one thing where the body's getting better and it can utilize the medication. So any medication they're on, the body can utilize it better now. So you can monitor and back off. And we've seen it over and over again. But I'm gonna revert to Chip and Marsh, because they helped a lot of children with the deficits, but also the ADHD things and all that. I don't know if we're supposed to say that one, but hyperactiveness and all of that, and being on medications. We have seen many people and children come off of medications that they no longer needed, because they got their body clean. Go ahead, Chip.
Hi, Mary Jane.
Hi, sorry, I just got a new phone today, so I'm just trying to figure it all out. So here I am.
You're doing great. Do you want to relay any details to me to start, or any particular let's say something was going to get better, if you were going to ask for something to get better, what would be one of the first things you'd want to have an area of improvement?
Well, for example, my son's on ADHD medicine, and he doesn't eat all day while he's on it. So he's on it from 8 to 3, and it affects his stomach, so he doesn't eat during a day. However, and we've tried many medications. This is the only one that he could use. But he hasn't had it for a week now because the pharmacy is out of it. And I didn't tell his teachers. And just to give you an example, I got an email today saying he had to be separated in class. He was goofing off. He wasn't paying attention. They're bringing him in at lunchtime to make up his work. And is he not on his medication this week? What's going on? This is not the typical boy we see in school. So I would like for him to be off the medicine so he can eat a normal diet, but also be able to function in school. That would be my goal with this product.
Okay, so that's very reasonable and attainable, and I think we should expect to get that. So that's the punchline.
Okay,
So
great.
you are one of the world's foremost authorities on the kind of stuff that they would give to a child that's struggling like this. And I'm going to ask you something. This is the way my brain works. And I hope it's useful to you, and I bet you know the answer. If you were guessing, the drugs that you give him, are they a sedative or a stimulant?
I'm assuming they're a stimulant.
Yes,
They're by
that's
bands,
exactly right. Okay,
Yeah.
so think about that. Here you have a child that's acting out,
Mhm.
and you give them a stimulant. How would that work?
Well, I don't know. I just know that back in the day when my cousin had the same thing, they used to give him a cup of coffee in the morning, and that would calm him down.
Okay, so you're correct. Now this is fun for me. Okay, why is it a stimulant instead of a sedative? You'd think they wanted to calm him down, and here's the reason. I had kids in a Christian school, and one of the little boys acted out so much. If we'd go on a road trip, all the parents and the teachers had to watch that one little boy, and the rest of the kids were on their own. It was that kind of a deal. Okay, and we're still buddies with this kid to this day. And so that was what got me interested. So I happened to be in a little Christian bookstore, and there was a book with a pink cover, and it was something about these kids that act out. And I picked it up and started reading it. This is 30 years ago now. And I looked at it, and there was a letter written by one of the kids who had been like that and then grew up. And he said, I knew I was about to act out, but I couldn't stop it.
That's what Christian says. That's what my son Christian says all the time. He says he can't help himself.
Okay, so it's exactly the deal. I knew it was going to happen. So here's what happens when you have these toxic materials in your brain. If you inhibit the brain in any way, a hit on the head, a recreational drug, or environmental toxins, a disease sometimes, it always takes function away in a predictable order. So the hierarchy of brain function, and everybody's going to understand this because you've seen people get drunk. What happens when people get drunk? Exact same thing. What comes right off the top? Inhibitions and judgment, right? And then fine motor skills, and then short-term memory, and then that gets worse and worse and worse. The last two things that the brain protects are long-term memory. That's the answer to how can a memory so short go back so far? And the very last thing a brain protects is organ function. That's why you can have people with old-timers dysfunction, and you have a perfectly functional body, but their personality and everything else is gone from it. So when they begin to sober up, they get them back in the same order. And oftentimes they have the skill almost within reach, but not quite. And so when you begin to use this product, instead of temporarily with the drug stimulating them to force them to have access to their inhibitions and judgment, You remove the impairment, get the oxygen back in the brain, and they then have access to their own inhibitions and judgment and short-term memory and fine motor skills. And it all starts coming back. And oftentimes it's amazing because, some of the kids, and certainly, Christine would know this, her sister would know this. I suspect if you're in that community, you know it, Mary Jane, it's quite a range. They may be unable to talk, unable to do bathroom things, unable to be around people, don't recognize people they should know when they come home. Those kind of functions, maybe nonverbal. And incredibly, when the kids start talking, it's quite common for the very first thing they say to be, I love you. Because what do they hear over and over and over again? And then what's the next thing? And this is amazing to me, but it's pretty frequent. They'll either say or sing the entire alphabet. Because people have been attempting to get them the ability to speak and going over and over again. This sound goes with this letter, goes in this spot. And they'll say or sing the entire alphabet. What I'm wanting to do, you guys, as you're listening to me do this with Mary Jane, and this is what I attempt to do with every affliction if I can do it, is help to understand and think it through from, take the time to think about it and have it make sense. And okay, now we've talked about the problem and kind of understood it maybe a little better than ever before. And then we bring the solution. And we're working with a biochemist who has breakthroughs in these amazing areas. There's been huge discoveries, and that's what you've run into tonight with your friend Inika. And so Ineka. How did I do? Inika.
With an E.
Inika.
Yeah.
My dear friends. And so that's what she's brought into your world tonight.
Yeah.
And, hopefully I'm going to get better at that. I got to get her to say it again. Say it again. Say it right again.
You guys are too much.
Inika.
It's Enica.
Inika with an E. All together
Everybody
now.
together with me. Together, let's all do this together. Enica.
Well, it's because we try to do it phonetically. That's why.
Right.
Yeah,
What
it's
about
silent.
phonetics in this case?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it's a
like
cool name
Annika
and we
with
like
an
it.
E. Right.
So, Mary Jane, I'm going to say this, let's connect, okay? I have lots of resources, right? We live in the same town. We don't know each other. I have lots of resources to help you. And this team here is here to help you. Robben, you're our special guest tonight. I see that some people had just joined us. Unfortunately, it's almost time to end, but Mr. Bill Spence has had his hand up patiently for 40 minutes. So Bill Spence, you're up. And then we're going to let Robben come back to us and perhaps we're going to close, I think, because we always promise we'll try to stay under an hour. But it's such good information. So Bill, go ahead. You're up.
Yeah, thank you. Just very quickly, thank you so much, Robben, for being our guest speaker. It was so wonderful to listen to all of what you shared, very inspiring. And I just also quickly want to thank Chip and Carol. The other day, I had a friend who bought the Cell Defender, good friend from Phoenix, who I've known for years. He has some questions. And Chip was really great. We had a 3-way conference call on the phone, and you answered all of Brad's questions and concerns. And he was very, very thankful and grateful for all of your information. So thank you. And then Carol, about 10 days ago, I went up to her house up in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, up the road, and we created a wonderful Avini Health, I guess we'd call it a video that she's, completing the processing. And just thank you, Carol, for your hospitality, your coaching, being a director of a movie, Bill, do this, have more enthusiasm. So I just want to say thank you to Carol for the wonderful coaching and the opportunity to create a video, which I think is more of a personal type of presentation as opposed to an email or maybe a phone call.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And with the beautiful backdrop of Avini,
Oh,
the banner. Yeah.
Yes,
And
I brought,
for those of you who don't know Bill, I doubt that she told you to have more enthusiasm, because anytime I talk with you, you're like one of the most enthusiastic people I know and love you. So,
well, thank you. I was being a little confronted there in front of the camera, so I guess I had, camera shock or something.
well, you're beautiful, and thank you for being here. Robin, we're gonna let you come back for the close, okay? Thank you. We
Well,
want to
thank
have
you
you
guys.
back again as well.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I love Kyle. We haven't gotten to spend a lot of time together, although he's from California. I'm trying to get him out here to come out here when he can. But, I think just a thought to leave with you is you never know whose life you're going to touch by getting out of yourself and just opening your mouth about Avini. And I got to tell you just a quick story. This young gal that we're helping now, who's autistic, she's 31. Her mom's been working with her and caregiving. It's quite a situation. She's on a lot of medications, but they came into the restaurant. We were eating in the restaurant, and they came to get a to-go order because they don't sit and stay, just like Chip was saying, and you guys were saying. And she has a she'll just burst out in a noise. And I looked over and I went, autism, just in my mind it's autism, and I hesitated, and then the voice is like, go share with them. And it's like, okay, this isn't about me. I just need to go share. So I gave him space, walked out, stood back while she got her in the car. And then after she does, said, hey mom, I didn't even know her name. They live in the same town, but I didn't know him. I said, hey mom, are you dealing with autism? And she said, yes. And we had a conversation, and it went from there. And who knows what can happen for this little girl, young girl. She looks young. But I'd say it's too good to keep quiet. And it doesn't matter what the person's dealing with. And it may not be the person you're speaking to. Maybe you're supposed to speak to that person because they know someone who's in desperate need of what we have, or they're open. And I always say to myself, I say, you know what, you're just going to go out today and you're looking for who's looking for what you have, but you've got to talk to people to let them know what you have, so you find the ones that are looking. So it's just an encouraging word. Just get out of yourself, go have fun with it. Don't make it a chore. Don't be nervous. Don't be self-conscious. We have one of the greatest messages in the world to give. Just share it with as many people every day that you can. And it will grow. It will be amazing. It will amaze you. You'll have miracles in your team and in your Avini family. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for being our guest tonight. And again, as Robin said, I can't reiterate that. You never know whose life you might change. And I want you to read that article and promise have a tissue, because the unjolly reality of profound autistic Christmas will move you to share with the people like Robin, somebody that you don't know at the counter. Robin, thank you for being our guest. Everyone, thank you for joining us on Avini Vibes tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday, same time, 7:30 Eastern time, and we'll see you then. Go out and share. God bless you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you,
Okay,
Chip.
thank you.
Bye.